What's up, Call of Duty fans? IHOLDSHIFT back with you guys, and we have got the power rankings ready to go with the Week 4 setup as well. On top of that, we're going to be digging through each of every single team that will be playing this week. Again, just Division B. I'm going to skip over all the stuff that happened last week with our power rankings. We're just going to go right into this one because I do want to dig into these teams a little bit more in detail. So let's take a look at what the division standings look like. Of course, Division A has already played through the first 2 weeks, so those division standings are pretty much set until we see them again. And then Division B, after the first week of gameplay that they had here in Week 3, this would be what it looks like with Heretics up top, Splice just behind them with that impending matchup between the two of them coming early on this next upcoming week. United Team Envy, 100 Thieves, Accelerate, Enigma, and then Denial. A lot of room to move between that 4 and 6 spot as we're looking at a lot of 1-2 teams, and then Enigma 6 at 1 and 3. And again, if you have missed it, another little tidbit, Accelerate Gaming will not be playing with Fastballa anymore. He's been moved to the substitute role, and Robbie B will be moved into the starting role position. Very interesting change, to say the least. Of course, there is your schedule on the right-hand side for you to take a look at as we go. But again, I want to talk about these power rankings, because this is where things really do, I think, kind of give us the true tell as far as who's up top, who's down low, and what can we expect from each of the, in the 16th spot. I actually have moved Denial all the way down to the bottom, and the biggest thing with this team is that I think they can still be a good team. I think they have all the pieces in place. I actually like all 5 of them as they stand right now. The biggest thing is they need to start to kind of get a little bit better with their specialist usage. Zeke and Whalers actually switched between Prophet and Seraph. It was Whalers using the Annihilator previously. That was not the case in our last matchup, although the rumor mill has been that there will be no more Seraph being played as the pros have GA'd the Annihilator. So it could be interesting to see if we see any Firebreak coming out, or if it'll just be Recon being played the entire time. A lot of questions as far as what this week has to go. There's also the questions as far as what's going to happen when the new patch actually hits. Again, this upcoming week, we played on the old patch still, so it does not have all the changes to the Maddox, so you're going to be seeing a lot more Maddox still being used, as well as probably an ICR and then 2 SOGs, as typically goes the way. So Denial at the very bottom, the biggest thing is they're minus 65 in the differential and their hard points. The thing about it is they have games that they can win, especially against Accelerate later. I don't see them being E-United or Splice, although if E-United doesn't come up and they sleep on Denial, very well could be a flip. Again, you see some of those 1 and 3 score lines as they played in their first week, and those games are relatively close. The biggest thing is they need to start getting better at the respawn, and specifically hardpoint. They're 1 and 6 in hardpoint. The search and destroy has been okay. They average 4.25 rounds for them, and they of course average 5.75 against it. They've only won 1 search so far. And then their control, kind of the same story. They average around 2 points per control map, and they give up, obviously they've only won once, so they give up about 3. But the minus 65 is not good in the differential between the hard points. That definitely needs to change. In the 15th spot, actually moving up from the 16th spot, although I actually think that this, when these two match up later, I actually have Denial winning this later matchup. Accelerate Gaming, with the loss of Fastball, is a weaker team. Robbie B is an ICR role, at least that's what he was playing mostly through the PLQ, with a team that didn't win a single game, and he was an addition to that team, so he didn't actually make it to the PLQ on his own with his own team. So I just don't really, I don't really understand why you pick up Robbie B of all players. There's so many better options that are out there. Maybe they thought that they wouldn't be able to pull in somebody a little bit more notable, but regardless, this is kind of a hit against Accelerate. They are 1 and 2. They did get that win versus Envy in the first game, and they had a very close game versus E-United. But then you take a look at their schedule. They have potential to win games. Again, they play 100 Thieves. They play Denial. Those are 2 winnable games in my book. But again, the biggest problem with this squad is the simple fact that they're not good at respawn. They're actually minus 70 differential in the hardpoint scores. They only average 153 points a game in hardpoint. That's not good. You need to change that really badly if you're Accelerate, and I just don't think adding Robbie B will help in their slaying department or in their strategy department. So I actually think that this matchup, I don't see this team winning another game throughout the rest of the week. Honestly, I think they're going to finish at 1 and 6, but that's kind of where it is right now. In the 14th spot, I still have Reciprocity sitting down here. They're minus 49 in the respawn, not very good, as we mentioned. They're 7 and 3 in search, which is great, but their control is also pretty awful. I actually wouldn't be surprised if Accelerate or Denial could take games or a possible set off Reciprocity. I wouldn't put it past them, but we'll skip past that conversation since we won't see them play this week. In the 13th spot, I still have Evil Geniuses just above. They're at plus 18 for the hard point, which is actually pretty impressive considering the fact that they're 1 and 6. 6. The biggest downfall of this team is their search gameplay. They need to figure that out badly. You have to figure that Revan is drilling these guys pretty hard. He sees all these things as well. You figure that this team will come back better at search the next time we see them. In the 12th spot, just above them, I still have Luminosity sitting there. Again, a team that's been pretty even across the board after their second week, where they started to find that 3-1 stride, actually having a pretty successful run versus Gen G as well. The biggest thing about this squad is that they're just not functioning right now. They got, I would say, more lucky than anything else, but it is better. This is a team that you would anticipate to be better than those that are below them, at least if they were to play again today. In the 11th spot, UIU, I still have them sitting there. Again, the 3-4 record. They're even in hard points. They only hit a -12 when it comes to differential and hard points. They've been very close games every time they play. Their search is, again, a little bit lacking. They need to figure that out, is the biggest thing. You know, these more amateur-style teams, the semi-pro teams that came in and kind of surprised people, you need to have better search than this. So that's definitely a team that I'm looking forward to getting better in that department as well. And then a little bit of a boost here for 100 Thieves in the 10 spot. And I'm hesitant because if Octane and Priesthood don't have the weeks that they have, I see this team actually losing pretty much almost every single game. With maybe the exception of the one versus Denial. But the fact of the matter is, they were able to take EU to 5, although honestly it should have only been 4, but that Rogue Lightning Strike taking a team kill actually kind of killed the momentum of United. They were in a spot to win the game out, and they weren't able to quite finish it in that hard point. And then, of course, the Search and Destroy going back and forth all the way through. The fact that 100 Thieves can stay with a team like United gives me confidence that you can start moving them up a little bit. As you take a look at what their week looks like throughout, they're going to be in an interesting spot because they're pulling up against teams that are pretty good at hardpoint, and that's been one of their biggest strengths. Surprisingly, this 100 Thieves team has looked pretty solid in hardpoint. They're actually a +38 considering the fact that they're not been traditionally all that great at hardpoint. The biggest thing comes down for me is, can they be a little bit more consistent in how they actually approach the search? Again, that seems to be the weak point for a lot of teams right now, is that search and destroy. They're not terrible. They're 1-3 there, but it could still use some work. So that's my biggest thing. I see this team probably splitting the difference. They should beat Accelerate, and I think the game versus E6 should be pretty good. I don't see them beating Envy, though. To start things off today. So that's kind of where I stand there. And then in the 9 spot, speaking of Enigma 6, that's where I have them falling down from where they were previously at the 7 spot. The 3-1 win versus Denial was pretty expected. The 0-3 loss to United was not great, obviously, but I actually liked the way that they played versus Heretics and even Spliced. Both of those sets were very, very close. Obviously, the 5-game set for Heretics, but then the 1-3 loss they had to Spliced, there was actually a really close game all the way through. So as you look at what the rest of their schedule looks like, I think that this team can definitely have the potential to win out. However, I don't see them getting past Envy necessarily, but I can see them beating Accelerate and, of course, 100 Thieves. So this team could definitely finish at 3-4 or 4-3 if they do rather well against Envy. It's very possible that they could possibly pull that one out. We'll jump into the top 8, though, as we are getting a little long-winded. I have a little bit of a boost here as Red Reserve has moved up in my list just by 1. I was debating between them and Enigma 6 for a while. The fact of the matter is, Red Reserve has been more consistent in the search. Enigma 6 has been really bad there, only 1-4. They only averaged 3 rounds in their favor. Again, that's one of the reasons why I don't know if they'll be able to pass the team like Envy, who's been relatively decent when it comes to their search and destroy. So that's my biggest thing with Red, is the fact that they're better in search. Flat out. They're 5-3 there. They're 5-2 in the control. Their hardpoint has been not significantly better, but it's been marginally better. So Red Reserve I have sitting up there. And then the 7th spot, I actually have Team Envy. It is a pretty significant drop. I had them in the top 4 last time, but of course their performances against Accelerate and even the one versus Splice was not exactly what you love to see. Mostly the one versus Accelerate, that's one that you think that Team Envy should be able to walk away with. They need to be able to win games like that. But here's kind of the stat breakdown on these guys. They're +40 in the hardpoint department, pretty solid with a 225 average. They only give up 185. It's pretty good. Their search has been dead even. 5.2 for them, 5.2 against them. They're 2-3 there. Again, it comes down to, can they close out those clutch searches? The answer so far has been not so much. And then the control has been pretty decent for them as well. They're sitting at a 1-2 record overall. And again, pretty even stat lines between the giving and taking as far as rounds in those. So for Envy, it just comes down to being able to win out more gunfights. I think it's flat out what needs to happen. When it comes to things like isolated face-ups and control and search, you win a couple more of those face-up gunfights, you get more points in your favor. It's just the way it goes. The lives obviously matter more in both of those than they do in hardpoint specifically. So that's one of my biggest things as far as what to look for Envy. But this team can definitely do well. The 1 and 2, don't let that kind of stray you away. This is still a very solid team. They just need to clean it up just a bit. In the 6th spot, staying in the 6th spot, I still have Gen G. They actually have a negative differential on their hardpoint, minus 19 there. Not the biggest deal in the world, but still, it is a minus differential. The thing that this team has really been carried on is the fact that their search has been perfect. 9 and 0 in the search, 6 and 8 in the hardpoint, 4 and 3 in the control. The fact of the matter is, this is the one team that really seems to have a handle on what search and destroy should look like in this game so far. Midnight still sitting in the 5th spot for me. Yes, they have a worse win-loss ratio, but they have that pretty crucial win versus Gen G. And the fact of the matter is, they're 9 and 1 in hardpoint. They're really good at hardpoint. That's just what it comes down to. Plus 35 for them. And then you get into the top 4, and there have been some pretty significant shakeups. In my 4th spot, I've actually dropped E United down here. They are plus 53 in the hardpoint. They've looked really good at hardpoint, and honestly, they've looked really good in search as well. They're 5 and 2. It's their control that worries me. They only average 1.5 rounds per game. You take a look at that 2-3 loss to Heretics, and then the close 3-2 and the close 3-2. Both back-to-back between Accelerate and 100 Thieves. Those are things that you don't love to see. You can't be giving away differentials like that. To end out their week, it really, for me, comes down to what will the sets versus Envy and what will the sets versus Splice look like. If they can win out their week, I think you definitively have a top 2 team here. But it comes down to, can they do those games, and can you take care of Denial without any problems, as they would need to. This is still a very solid team. You know, it just comes down to, can they figure out their control. That's been their biggest weakness so far. In the 3 spot, again, because of their weaknesses in control, I actually have Heretics just above them at a 4-0 scoreline. I mean, and they've also beaten them at a 3-2. The Enigma 6 game has me a little bit concerned, but again, that's a solid team in Enigma 6. They were able to take care of a 3-0 pretty quickly on Accelerate and, of course, on Denial. They actually sit at a minus differential of just 8 when it comes down to their hard point. It's 203 to 211 as far as what they take and what they give. And then they're pretty solid in the search department, 5 and 1 and 3 and 1 in control. That's the biggest 2 that I'm looking at. We mentioned it when we were going through the weekly breakdowns. The teams that win control typically end up also winning the sets. It gives you a much higher chance to win the full out set when you're winning control routinely. They're 3 and 1 there. They're doing a really solid job of making sure they stay in control of control. And then in the 2nd spot, I still have Optics sitting here. I for a while was playing around with, would Heretics potentially be able to beat Optic? And with Dashy in the lineup, I don't think they would be able to, but it would be a good set. The biggest thing is Optic is much better at the hard point, and Heretics is much better at the search. And again, you can't really take a look at the search as full value because they are playing with Zuma, who has been less than great when it comes to search and destroy and control also, but he's obviously been given a little bit more reign when it comes to playing a little bit more freely when it comes to the hard point. So that's kind of where I feel about Optic right now. And right now at the very top, I have Splice. The fact of the matter is, this team's coming out with incredible looking set pieces. Yeah, the 3-2 versus Envy, you would love to see that be a little bit more convincing. But the fact of the matter is, this team seems to have their heads under control. They have really good set pieces out for things like control and search. They're doing really good retakes of hardpoint. I'm going to be looking specifically at this Heretics game for my next Eyes On series. And speaking of, I know I said I was going to be doing one on midnight. I've scrapped that. I did the video. I didn't love it. It was a little bit long-winded. It was disjointed. I didn't really like the feel of it. So what I'm likely going to be doing, and I kind of want to leave it up to you guys in the voting in the comments below, would you rather see me do isolated incidents across the entire set as far as here's some cool moments, or would you rather have me do kind of a back and forth of here's some moments from Splice, here's some moments from Heretics, and kind of breaking down one good map? I can either do like a really good in-depth from both perspectives of the maps, or I can do just one team, kind of their perspective throughout the entire set. I want to get your thoughts on that. So again, let me know in the comments below. Would you like to see one map, both teams, or one team from a full set? That's the best way of doing it. I tried doing it with Midnight across their entire first week, and it was just too isolated. It was too hard to get like good analysis because the adjustments are very dependent on what team they're playing. So that's kind of where I feel. But Splice, let's get back to them. You know, their win-losses, obviously 3-0, 9-3, pretty convincing. The fact of the matter is their averages are actually pretty even across the board. They had those close games versus Envy, but also that 3-1 versus Enigma 6 was also relatively close. So when you take a look at them playing up against Heretics and E United, you would like to see them clean things up just a bit. They've given up only 1 in each of the departments. So they've lost 1 hardpoint, 1 search, and 1 control. So all of their averages are relatively even. They typically go the distance, with the exception of playing 100 Thieves. All of their games were relatively close between those in the set versus Envy and Enigma 6. But still, the fact of the matter is, I think Splice has the best handle on the game right now. They look the best as far as how their average gunning skill seems to be going, and that's why I have them up top. Now, again, I hope you guys enjoy week 4. It's been a pleasure having this power rankings out for you guys. Again, let me know in the comments below what you think about that Eyes On series. What would you rather see at the end of the week? And then beyond that, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell to get notifications when my videos do pop up. I appreciate everybody who does come out. As few as our numbers have been kind of coming out lately, it still makes me happy to see you guys in the comments leaving your thoughts and stuff about the videos. So I do appreciate you guys coming back, liking the videos and all that stuff. Until next time, though, I hope you guys enjoy the games. I'll be doing daily recaps at the end of each day this week, so make sure you stay tuned for those. And until next time, hope you keep holding it down. Bye-bye.